Naughty cat. That got me now.
Naughty what? Oh, good Lord. Oh, heartbreaking. That one's still good?
No.
We cannot afford lost eggs right now. We are still in that like doldrum period of winter into spring where we are getting like 1 or 2 eggs a day, barely. And yeah, our family needs a lot more eggs than that. So unfortunately, knocked over eggs because of the cat. We had the eggs in the thing and egg cart knocked them over. Are your egg production picking up yet? We haven't used any artificial lighting this year. Mostly because we didn't want to mess them up, you know, wind up forgetting to turn the light off or something and messing up their natural rhythm. We've used it in the past, but if you mess up and you forget to turn the light off or something goes wrong, you can actually reset them and it's like does more harm than good. So we didn't use a light this year, but man, it is a long time before egg production picks back up. And it is, oof. 3111?
Yeah. Daddy.
Nice.
I'll go fast, yeah.
Currently mixing our own camel feed, and we're copying the ratio that our camel mentor gave us, what they've been feeding their camels at their camel dairy. So right now we're doing a scoop of flax, a scoop of sunflower seeds, a scoop of alfalfa pellets, and then 3 scoops of oats, top dressing with a little minerals and a little DE. He added molasses to the too, but I can't figure out how to get the molasses to coat everything evenly. It just creates like a little log of molasses. What do you do to evenly distribute the molasses in your feed mix? Do you use molasses? Give me some tips.
We get so messy. Mama says let me have a turn. Look at that beautiful camel. They get so messy, get straw all over them. And now look. So much better.
You look very nice, Solomon.
Look at this side. This is the better side.
Hey, Solomon. He looks great. Look at that. A lot of people have asked us about, are we going to harvest this fiber here and get it spun somehow? People have said to send it to them. How do you get it off of them? Tell me in comments below. I don't know. Do you just, you know, brush it off and collect what you brush off every day? It's really beautiful. It's very soft. Let me know. We'll save some. They like their grain today, my goodness.
Now the side is looking better. The chickens are cool. I found a pile of camel fur about this big in the chicken's egg laying box. Chickens are collecting camel fur for the chicken nest, nests. Now I don't have to put hay in there anymore.
Hey, there's a great idea. Wonder if this is better for eggs. Softer on the eggs. It's a Bluebird egg factory, uses only camel fiber for its egg nests. Hypoallergenic. Now I know I'm going to hear about it in the comments section from some of you that I mentioned we're putting DE in their feed. In the past we have never really used DE, and we actually talked about it with Cody Creelman when he was on the show. We asked him specifically, does DE help with deworming? And Cody, his answer was,
I do think there is compounds that can potentially treat, but I think most importantly comes down to adhering to principles of things like holistic management, pasture rotation, having genetically selected for animals for your environment. All of those things are so much more important as to what the most specific treatment or using the newest, hottest dewormer is.
how about DE?
Compounds like DE, you know, I've heard lots of different mechanisms of action. The most, I guess, one that I could make the most sense of with DE is that the little tiny shells can cut up the parasites and then they die, and parasitology is extremely complicated. There's all sorts of encysted larvae and different life cycles, and the parasites aren't always going to be susceptible to things that just have an effect orally within the gut contents itself, like DE would. So it's much more complicated than just being able to feed an animal something that would, I guess, in theory, kind of clean them out. So unfortunately, I don't think there's too much merit to that.
Fairy dust?
Austin.
So recently we had the vet here to check up on our camels. We want to get a good worm fecal egg count to establish their baseline. They arrived here just a couple weeks ago. We want to know where's their worm level at so we can keep track of it as they get older, as they spend more time on our property. We want to see what areas of the property give them a heavier load of worms, what areas of the property are better for them. Right now we have them on dry lots, which is a very safe place when it comes to worms and worm issues. We don't have to worry about too much there. We had the vet here to take a look at the camels, make sure they look healthy, do a fecal egg count for us. And we're using a new vet than we used with the goats. We have a large animal vet who seems very switched on to worms and how to deal with them in Western Pennsylvania for large and small ruminants. I asked the vet, I said, DE, what's the deal? Do you know anything about it? She said lots of the organic dairies in the area are using it. I said, does it work? And her response actually surprised me. I expected her to totally poo-poo it. She said the jury is still out. So that tells me that while it may not work, it might. The jury's still out means not enough studies have been done to prove that it will work, but that doesn't mean that it won't. DE is not that expensive to add to the food. And the dairy that we got these camels from...
I'm gonna do the chickens.
Sounds good, buddy. The dairy that we got these camels from was already using it in their feed. The real reason that I'm using it right now in their feed is because I don't want to rock the boat with them too much. They're in a new farm, they're drinking new water, they're eating new oats and new straw and new hay, and all the stuff is new. So the most same things I can do for them, keep their transition smooth, the better. If they were getting DE in their feed, I want to keep that DE in their feed. Is it helping them with their worm load? Maybe. So I'm gonna keep using it. And we're gonna keep getting fecal egg counts done. Our vet suggested every other month to do a fecal egg count. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get them checked every month, watch if their worm load is rising or falling. And we'll
Here come the cow.
we'll keep feeding them DE, because if it could help, great. I haven't found any studies that show yet that it does help. I would love to find that out. Just because there's not a study to show that it does help doesn't mean that it is not helping. Just because anecdotally you found that it does help doesn't mean that it is helping, but it can't hurt. So that's where we're at. We're gonna try it, we're gonna see, and we're gonna watch. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way. We're trying to approach our new farming endeavor, because we're changing so much of what we're feeding ourselves and what we're feeding our animals. We're trying to approach it all with a very open mind, being willing to try things, and remembering that just because there's not a scientific study to prove it works, doesn't mean that it couldn't actually work. Something that I've been asked a lot about since we talked about the health benefits of camel milk and why we're bringing camels on the farm is, a lot of people want to know about the hard science behind this decision. A lot of people want to know about the hard science behind it. They want to see the studies. And there are studies being done. We have an interview coming out very soon with someone who wrote a book, and she compiled a lot of the research and a lot of the data. You can find it in the appendixes of her book, so that's coming soon. But someone said in the comments that they said a lot of the studies that they've read about camel milk have very small sample groups. I can't disagree. A lot of the studies that I read were very small sample groups. They were essentially families with children who had tried everything that the doctors had told them to try and were out of ideas and were like, what the heck, let's try camel milk. And that is what I'm talking about when I say approaching all this stuff with an open mind, willing to be scientific in our approach. When we first went to the doctor about these issues, we wound up at a GI specialist, and I asked the GI specialist the issues that our baby's having, why does it happen? And she said, we don't know. So the doctors, the hardest science out there right now, can't answer why babies, less than 1 year old are having allergies to the food that we're feeding, that we're eating. They don't know. So there's no answers there. So can camel milk help? Well, just because there's not a huge scientific study to back it up and prove that it works doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Also, like I said, anecdotal evidence doesn't mean that it works either. So what are we doing? We are approaching it based off thousands and thousands of years of humans using it for this purpose. Humans have used camel milk for centuries, medicinally. So we're trying to we're putting a little bit of faith in old medicine, and we're trying to approach it with a scientific with the scientific method. And so we're taking a hard look at our family, what we're eating. We're saying, all right, let's try camel milk.
Should we close this door?
That? Sure, buddy, you can close that. Gloves on, buddy, okay? Hi. Hi, Mel. So while there are not huge studies, again, the interview that we do, Christina Adams in her book talks about how much money it takes to do a scientific study, and there's just not a real there's not a big funding for camel milk research. Nobody's making a ton of money off of camel milk. They're making a ton of money off selling drugs. And so yeah, there's a lot of, studies done on whether or not drugs can help for some problems. There's no big camel milk industry to back research. The scientific method can be done by Joe Schmo. You can be a guy who follows a scientific method. That's how it all started. You don't have to, be a lab that's get a government grant. You can approach things with an open mind, with a hypothesis, and see if it looks correct to you. And whether or not you ever will be peer reviewed and published doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is if it helps my family. And so far, camel milk has been a huge help to my family because Kay has been able to add it back to her diet, a very small diet that doesn't include a lot of things. Kay has been adding things back into her diet very slowly so we can observe scientifically the effects of adding something back into her diet. She doesn't eat anything new, she gets a baseline and then she adds something back in, and if her and the baby are fine over the next couple days, we know, hey, scientifically sound, this is not bothering them. So far, our hard science is it doesn't bother the baby. Now, there are scientific studies to show the reasons why camel milk would be non-allergenic. It is naturally homogenized, it's easier to digest. It doesn't have the proteins in it that people react to when they have milk allergies. So that's good hard science. Will it cure all the problems, digestive issues that our baby has, or that Kay has, or that you have? Probably not. Nothing's a miracle cure, camel milk included. But that doesn't mean that it can't help you or it can't help us just because there's not a huge peer-reviewed study with a huge number of people studied on it. You have to approach this kind of stuff when the doctor tells you, we don't know why this happens, then it's time to try to start figuring stuff out for yourself. So on your own homesteads, don't hold back from doing scientific studies in your own little space. I have a perfect example in the bunny pen, the bunny colony behind me. In a couple of videos back, you'll remember Kay saw one of the little, like a little runt rabbit, had diarrhea. You know what it's time for. Hear the sound? It's the Homesteady camel train rolling in, and today's shout out goes to Candace. Now let's get some camels in this camel shout out. Candace is from a little one-horse town in Connecticut. Hey, my old stomping grounds, Candace. Let's make it a one camel town, what do you think? It only has 2 traffic lights. I've been there, I know your town, Candace. I think we're shopping for goats there once. Candace is now the caretaker of her childhood family farm. How cool is that? And here we are doing that at Kay's childhood family farm. We're being the caretakers. Candace says her inspiration is restoration, health, and happiness. I think that is a great thing. The camels definitely make me more happy every day working with them. I think that's a good goal for our homesteads. They should make you happy. You should enjoy most of the time what you're doing on your homestead. It's not always the best, but most of it should make you happy. I like this goal that Candace has. She says she hopes that the work of her hands will become so abundant that she'll be able to bless many with her harvest. And she wants to be able to give back for years to come. What a really nice goal for your family's homestead. Now this is fun. Candace says they're so brand new that they're working on the name for their farm still. And she wants your opinion, so comments below help Candace pick a name for her farm. Maybe come up with a new idea or pick what do you like of these. Her options are Silver Sparrow or Paradise Acres. Silver Sparrow, Paradise Acres, or One Camel Town Farm? That's my suggestion for you, Candace. But I do like Silver Sparrow. That's my personal of the two. I think Silver Sparrow, Paradise Acres, My opinion, you can totally scratch this. My opinion, it kind of will get lost at the farmer's market in all the Nature's Harmonies and greener pastures. But silver sparrow, cool little bird logo. I'm just saying, I think that's the winner in my opinion, Candace. Let her know what you prefer in the comments below. Thank you for joining the Camel Train, Candace. Pay attention for your special one-of-a-kind Homesteady Camel Train t-shirt. You will also have a lifetime access to the Pioneer program, all our bonus content, all our videos, courses, everything. Hopefully there's a lot of good information there you can use as you grow your farm. We had some really good interviews recently all about growing your farm business. We had Morgan Gold talking about what to sell and how to sell it. We had Tiffany Urick on the show, or she's gonna be on the show next week. You're gonna see that. She's talking about growing your brand with media. So really good stuff for building a farm business. I hope that helps you. And if you would like to join the Camel Train, get a shirt, lifetime access to the Pioneer program, and also your shout out, click right there. There are a couple spots left, but they are filling up, so don't wait. The 100 days, once those 100 slots are filled, we're done. You can't get on the train once the train has left the station. Look at the camels. Hi. Hello. We were working in here and Kay picked up one of the smaller, there's a couple runts in the group. And she picked up the little runt and sure enough it had diarrhea. A runty?
Yeah.
He's got camel milk.
He's got diarrhea, wet poopy.
Let's give him some camel milk. That could be an amazing thing. We got a syringe. I'm gonna try it.
All right.
We're gonna do a little science experiment with this little bunny here. Don't worry. That sounds a lot crueler than it's gonna be. This is a runt. He's cute as he can be, but he's not doing so hot. He's got some diarrhea. I talked to the person we bought our rabbits from, and she said he will probably die. So don't get too attached, all you out there who are like, oh, he's so cute. But he may not because, oh, we're gonna try this gut healing camel milk to see. A little bit of camel milk can't stop the diarrhea. It reduces inflammation, camel milk. Newer baby animals, if they have sickness early on, digestive problems, they lose a lot of fluid, probably gonna die. That made sense. But I thought, you know what a perfect chance to do a little tiny scientific experiment on our homestead. Camel milk reduces inflammation. It can help with diarrhea. It can help with digestive issues. We're gonna give this little bunny some camel milk and see what happens. So let's see if a little bit of maybe camel milk doesn't help this little runt's belly. Not a whole lot of fight in this guy. So I took there was actually two little runts. One of them had some diarrhea and one of them was just a little runt. Took them both and gave them both camel milk through a little syringe. We did this for 3 days in a row. Took him diarrhea, gave him camel milk, gave him camel milk. Third day. By the third day, we picked up that little one with diarrhea. Some of you will remember my Instagram story yesterday where I showed us treating a little bunny. No runny butt this morning. If I can even find him. Diarrhea was gone. You? Boy, can't be you. You're huge. There you are. There you are, little runty guy. How's your butt look? So this is runt number 1. Still a runt, still very small. Will he succeed? Will he thrive? Will he live? I don't know. Science and time will tell. But something that's very cool to note, there is a little solid rabbit poop. That is not diarrhea. 3 days of camel milk and his diarrhea problems went away and now he's pooping solid. Will he live? Will he survive? I hope. But you know, our own little science experiment definitely gave me some more hope that maybe there's something to this camel milk thing. And we'll keep testing it out.
Look at the bunnies playing with your leg.
Oh yeah, here's the other one. Here's both of our little runts, and this guy too. Look, he's got little dry rabbit poops on him. So they're both pooping solid. They're still smaller than the rest in the group. I don't think they're gonna catch up with everybody. There's still gonna be runs. But if they live, what do you drink?
I'm speaking.
Well, look at that. Baby bunnies. There we go. Tell the camera.
More baby bunnies. Is that Rosie's or?
I'm guessing that's Rosie's.
Yeah, we saw them breeding again maybe a month ago. And now, more bunnies. More meat bunnies.
Well, that's super cool. We just found a new nest. More baby bunnies are coming, which means we have to make room for more babies. I was actually thinking of putting a second level track around this stall so that the middle-sized bunnies could be on the second story around the border running
Do you
around.
mean like another whole shelf?
Yeah, what do you think? That'd be a good idea, right?
Then would
be a
be a
fun
little
build.
hard to.
We could build like a shelf around here all the way around that would still be easy to clean underneath, but the bunnies could be on top of here. Because we're running out of space in our colony.
Bunny railings.
Bunny railings so they don't fall off. Woo!
That one of the bunnies, one of the bunnies just found out it's because zapping its tail, and one of the bunnies tosses it down in
Star Wars Bunny Edition. All right. Well, that's exciting. I didn't even know we had new bunnies this morning. That's some big stuff. Our rabbit colony is thriving. We got a lot going on here. A lot of meat production here. Rabbits are an incredible source of self-replicating, self-sustainable meat, and I'm really excited with this bunny boom. Gonna have a lot of yummy bunny. I need to get those bunnies a different water and food setup. Another scientific experiment this morning. We're gonna see how bunnies handle chicken feeders and chicken waterers. Try that.
Yeah.
Now I want you to know, yes, this is humbling. To be the channel that had a vet on to talk about why DE doesn't really work, or why he doesn't understand how it could work, to now be buying it and putting it in my feed and sharing that on the channel. But I am not above sharing my mistakes or wrong viewpoints. And science itself, the scientific method, should be a humbling process because you're supposed to start with a hypothesis. You're supposed to proclaim to your community, this is what I think, and I'm gonna prove it, or I'm gonna prove it wrong. And when you go through that method at the end and you look at it, you say, oh, I was wrong. That's humbling. It's humbling to say, hey, you know what? I was wrong about this. Or, I might have been wrong about this. Let's do some more tests to see. Yeah, it is a little humbling to be using DE and seeing if it helps with the worm issue. But that doesn't mean I'm not willing to share that with you, the audience, let you know that, hey, we're trying this out, even though we always thought it seemed a little crazy. Now we're trying it. And you know what? If it's working, we'll let you know. And if it's not working, and that way you know, you can always trust what we're sharing here. We're not just trying to, we're not hiding our mistakes, and we're not, only trying to support our opinions. Our opinion is that, you know what, DE doesn't help with worms. But what if it does? Well, over the next year or so, we'll see what happens as we use DE and we are monitoring their worm load. We're going to be monitoring it constantly, and we're not using chemical dewormers unless the DE isn't working and there are issues arising. And then, yes, we'll find a new solution there. So we're just gonna follow the science, follow, this scientific method, see if we can figure out what will work here on our homestead, and we will share every bit of it with you, whether that means DE or a chemical dewormer, or hopefully managing our animals properly, giving them everything they need, and watching their bodies do the work that their bodies are made to do. Fight off infection, fight off disease, fight off these worms with proper nutrients, proper diet, and good management. So Yep, it's gonna be a fun camel train. 100 days camel train, 100 days of growing food that helps you, helps your animals. Thanks for coming along for this ride.